I'm Ann Collier. I'm co-director of connectsafely.org and I blog at netfamilynews.org. And I'm first and foremost a journalist and a youth advocate. Sometimes people think of me as an internet safety advocate, but I think that internet safety has done quite a disservice to young people, their parents, and to educators. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that. I started out in this field as an observer of something, what looked to me at the time, 17 years ago, as the story of the century, the story of the 20th century, and now it's the story of the 21st century, the World Wide Web and digital media and living in a networked world. It affects every aspect of our lives. So I wanted to look at the youth part of it. And so I kind of got pulled into the internet safety space, and I really saw that as a fascinating case study of how a society deals with something completely new that involves young people. And this has really been a fascinating journey and story. So I went from being an observer to a chronicler to really a participant observer and advocacy journalist, I guess you'd say. And because I'm not a scholar, like many of these wonderful videos in this anthology, I've been very dependent on the research. And so my main mission has been, through the years, to get facts, not fear, out to the public, and get the research into the public discourse about youth and digital media and technology and the internet and all that stuff. And so I've had the honor of serving on 3 national task forces that have been also working hard to push out the research. So we have a field here called internet safety that started before there was any research at all. It started several years, pretty much right after the Supreme Court struck down the Communications Decency Act in mid-1997. And that was kind of the beginning of it all. Then we had I'd say the first youth online risk research came out of the Crimes Against Children Research Center at University of New Hampshire in around 2000. And so we were kind of catching up from the very beginning. And a lot of that research was really grossly misrepresented in the news media. And so what developed was something kind of fear-based. And in representing young people always as potential victims, I said earlier we're doing them a real disservice. We are not empowering them. We're not giving them the tools to navigate this digital space and networked world intelligently and with competency. We need to give them confidence. Some research at Harvard University's done by Project Zero and the Good Play Project really found that young people have been conditioned to believe that their media, the media they love, is, at best, a homework disruptor, right? Inconsequential, really, at best, and then at worst, dangerous. And they've been, as Henry Jenkins at University of Southern California testified to the second national task force I served on, we've left our children largely alone, on their own, in digital media. And that means that, we've represented them, they've come to believe themselves, well, I'll just say it, right? And I'm looking down because I'm a writer, not a speaker really, but I'll just say it. With our fear-based, pro-victim internet safety messaging, we have conditioned a generation of internet users, the so-called digital natives, to think of themselves as potential victims rather than as citizens and change agents. And that's what they're fully capable of being once we give them the tools. How do we change that? We change that with literacy education. And not just digital literacy, which is what everybody talks about all over the world, but media literacy, good old-fashioned media literacy that involves two-way, consumption and as well as sharing and producing, right? It's two-way media now. It's behavioral. So we have to now also work with developing their experience with developing their competency in social literacy, right? So The last task force I served on was the Aspen Task Force for Learning in the Internet. And what we brought out in our report just this past June 2014, it's just at aspentaskforce.org if you want to check it out, was that we have 3 literacies now in the digital age: digital literacy, media literacy, and social literacy. And what we've found in our field is that the lion's share of bullying prevention, which is the risk that most kids, that is most commonly experienced by kids, though far from an epidemic as presented in the news media, that if we give them social literacy and help them develop those skills, that's the lion's share of bullying prevention, online and offline. So we have some work to do, and we need to get on with it. Instead of blocking and surveilling their experiences online, we need to give them the literacy to be skilled navigators and change agents and citizens, not just in online spaces, but in a networked world.